Listener discretion is advised.
You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
You darn tootin'.
And this episode comes out in
This
a
week.
couple days. Yeah, oh God, we're a little behind. And a lot is going on in Minnesota in the news right now, but we are recording this a few days ahead of when this is supposed to air. So TBD on reactions to the news.
We
Closing arguments wrapped up today as we record. So we're a little tense. We're a little tense around here.
Yeah, it's a rough time for the city.
Yeah, but I just didn't want anyone to think that we weren't paying attention, because we are. All right, so oh, fuck it, I'm Kenyon.
Oh, right.
Fuck it, I'm Lucy.
I'm Amanda.
And this is also a video episode for our Patreon subscribers.
Come look at my hair. I washed it today.
Yeah, Amanda's
And it's
hair
all
is
your
straight.
own hair.
No, it's not.
Oh, never mind.
That is
I was
so...
like, it looks fabulous.
That is so nice of you to
There's no
say.
way it's your own hair.
I sent you a picture of, as you know, my hair appointments are 2-day affairs
Yes.
where I have to go in, get them removed. It's a whole procedure. So when I sent you the photo after I'd gotten the color done, it was to show off that my hair was really long even without the extensions. So that photo you got is of my real hair, but
not
now my
today.
real hair is once again hidden by a more fabulous product, someone else's hair.
Plastic.
Consensual, someone else's hair. Ethical, someone else's hair. Anyway,
Okay.
come
Well,
to
it looks
Patreon.
great.
Thank you.
So we have a very special fan pick this week, brought to you by Carmen, who is a social worker. And Carmen has selected the topic of social worker crimes.
Oh my gosh.
Wouldn't you know it?
This was really hard.
Yeah,
It's a doozy.
sad. It's a tough day when social workers have to get involved. And then in my case, it's a really tough day when social workers fuck up.
Not a
Yeah.
lot of room for fuck up. In
Yep.
that,
And it's
in that world.
it's such a hard job. I honestly can't imagine a more difficult job. I think I think there is a hierarchy, and it's the hardest job.
Yep, it's up there. It's a contender.
That and like, I don't know, motherhood of like 8 children.
Of course. And we are not here to shit on social workers.
No.
We are not here to shit on individuals who may need the assistance of a social worker.
No.
So much of it is systemic and way too much for us to address in a show of this caliber. And so let's just make that very clear before we dive into what is inevitably always a nuanced and very complicated set of circumstances that typically will lead to these cases. Except for in my case, which is real black and white, this person was just the worst.
I would say, I think it's safe to say that the vast majority of us will interact with social workers at some point in our lives. So
Yeah, absolutely.
it's not like we're saying, oh, too bad you have to deal with a social worker.
Right.
It's like Toby
No
Flunderson's a
judgment.
social worker.
Yeah.
Just saying. I interact with him every day.
I think it's such a broad, career path. And also when it comes
We'll
to
get
true
to it.
crime, it can be involved in, like,
dark
social work
stuff.
can be involved in so many different ways, for better or for worse. So yeah, it would be like saying like forensics crimes.
Right, exactly.
Like it could be anything.
Yeah.
So with that said, we probably are going to need to limber up. So what is our wine crime pairing for social worker crimes?
Okay, we are not drinking wine today. We are drinking what I can only imagine I would need in order to survive a career in social work.
Vodka or tequila?
Neither, because this needs to also be easily hidden at work.
Oh my God. We are not
So-
condoning drinking at work while being a social
Well, we
worker.
can drink at work.
Yeah,
While being a social worker.
I have no. If you can handle your shit and sneak what I'm about to recommend, I am. That's not my lane to get in, so I'm staying out of that lane. I have to
I'm
drink for
staying
work,
out.
so I'm making recommendations, and that's my lane. And here's my recommendation: brew yourself a cup of coffee and then put tinfoil over it to keep it warm. Because you brewed it like 10 minutes ago before recording.
Okay, I have
Remove-
iced coffee.
Remove the tinfoil.
Okay.
Grab a bottle of tequila. Kahlua. Kenyon said
Grab
Kahlua.
the closest bottle of tequila.
Pour Kahlua into
That's
your
a lot
coffee.
of Kahlua.
It's a coffee liqueur
It's
with coffee.
a coffee liqueur.
Like I said the last time I quote unquote over poured, where am I gonna go?
Yeah.
Where do I have to be?
I currently don't have any alcohol in the house, so Corey's bringing me some White Claws. So if you see like a really pale man like lumbering in the background,
Holy shit, that's so
my
good.
husband.
I love me some Kahlua and coffee.
It's so good. Just a couple little fun things. Kahlua is a coffee liqueur, and liqueur specifically is franche. It's an alcoholic drink composed
Bless you.
of distilled spirits and additional flavorings such as sugar, fruits, herbs, spices, coffee. This is literally made, like the main ingredient of Kahlua is coffee beans. So it's like the coffeeiest coffee liqueur that you can possibly get. They are typically on the sweeter side, sort of the thicker side. They're so good as like a mixer in cocktails or as an ingredient in cocktails, but they're also
White
very good in
Russians.
cooking, like making baking desserts and stuff.
Ooh, yeah.
Is there caffeine in Kahlua?
It is, and that was what I was about to say. So
Oh,
because
sorry.
Kahlua is made from coffee beans, it does contain caffeine. For Loco, anyone?
Oh, I like it.
According to the company, it contains about 100 ppm caffeine, which means about 100 milliliters per liter of product. So for a standard 1.5 ounce drink of Kahlua, there would be about 5 milligrams of caffeine. So it's not a lot. Like, to put it in perspective, an 8 ounce cup of coffee contains about 200 milligrams of caffeine.
Okay.
So
it's
you have to
just a
remember that
dusting.
it's just a dusting. It's not like Four Loko where it's an energy drink. That's like there's more caffeine residually still in decaf coffee than there is in Kahlua.
So it won't upset my bowels the way that coffee does.
It really shouldn't.
Good.
And obviously putting Kahlua in coffee is like one of the most phenomenal ways to enjoy it. But here is a short list of some of the top cocktails to use Kahlua in. So martinis like espresso martinis, white and black Russians. I assume black Russian is just no cream.
Correct.
Right? Correct. Mind erasers,
What's
which
in
is
that?
like it's
Never
like an
had
everything
that.
but the kitchen sink kind of shot type thing. I don't.
Long Island.
Yeah, I don't remember all the
Like
ingredients.
a wintry mix. Oh, that would be a good cocktail name.
Wintry
write that
mix.
down.
She's writing it down.
A B52, a baby Guinness, a brave bull, a Colorado bulldog, a dirty mother.
Oh,
A
what's in
Kahlua-
that?
I don't know because I'm not clicking these because I'm scared, but I could. A Kahlua sour, moose milk, mudslides, one of my favorite things, and Spanish coffee, which is basically exactly what we're drinking.
Oh, a dirty mother is brandy, milk, and coffee liqueur.
Yum. Look up Mind Eraser because that wasn't clickable. It might be a shot and not a cocktail.
Mind eraser. This is good podcasting technique.
I know,
people.
whatever. It's fine. I've been out of the restaurant game too long. I don't remember what
Mind
these
eraser
are.
doesn't sound appealing to me.
It really doesn't.
Why is there such a long article? Just give me the ingredients. Okay. Coffee liqueur, such as Kahlua, vodka, and club soda.
Oh, ew, no.
Now I'm
No.
good.
Anyway, I don't have anything to pop. I don't have anything to crack. So I just want to say cheers to all of the social workers out there doing the the good, hard, incredibly invaluable work. You are undervalued and underpaid, and we appreciate you.
Yes.
And now we're going to talk about some not so great ones.
I'm toasting with my apple cider vinegar gummies.
Those are great.
Nice. All right. Well, Lucy, what is our background and maybe psych for social worker crimes?
There's no psych.
We need to
But,
get a button or something that says there's no psych.
John, put
How
it in
about
the
some
video.
goat bones? There's no psych.
We need a shirt.
Oh,
We
whenever
need
there's no
something.
psych, Lucy shakes her goat bones.
No
There's
psych.
no psych.
Okay, so social work is a practice-based profession that promotes social change, development, cohesion, and the empowerment of people and communities. Social work practice involves the understanding of human development, behavior, and social, economic, and cultural institutions and interactions. The profession concerns itself with individuals, families, groups, communities, and society as a whole in effort to meet basic needs and enhance social functioning, self-determination, collective responsibility, and overall well-being. So as we've already established, the umbrella is large.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, so many buzzwords.
Right.
That was
Yeah.
like wave
yeah.
of buzzwords.
I have quite a lot of buzzwords in my segment, actually.
Ooh.
Drink every time there's a buzzword. Just
Oh,
kidding.
God.
All right.
You're already fucking trash.
Mm-hmm.
Social work professionals working with families and institutions have helped to provide and advance the following social impacts: civil rights. Ever heard of it?
Never heard of it.
Derek
God.
Chauvin.
Never
On it-
heard of it.
Unemployment insurance, disability pay, workers' compensation, reduced mental health stigma, Medicaid and Medicare, and child abuse and neglect prevention.
Yeah, my dad worked with a social worker when applying for disability that he got denied of multiple times. So a social worker had to help him.
A leg.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
was,
got denied disability.
Yeah. And I mean, diabetes is like enough to qualify individuals as disabled if they, so choose to identify. But he also was an amputee.
Yeah.
It's a racket. It's a racket.
Well, social workers in general try their best.
Oh,
Not all
yeah.
of
No,
them,
the social worker was doing
obviously.
everything they could to help my dad. It's the government that was fucking him over, not the social worker.
Yeah. So depending on their specialty, job title, and place of employment, a social worker may be required to participate in legislative processes that often result in the formation of social policies. Examples of fields a social worker may be employed in are poverty relief. We'll circle back to the poverty thing. Life skills education, community organization, all these buzzwords. Community development, rural development, forensics and corrections, legislation, industrial relations, project management, child protection, elder protection, women's rights, human rights, systems optimization. I'm not really sure what that referred to, but
I mean, clearly to optimize systems.
I mean, probably
You
to
fold
like,
it in. You fold in the cheese.
well, that might
I don't know
be
how to
like
make this any clearer, David.
that might be like the Toby Flenderson, like a PR, like a HR position.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably just like this is how the organization typically handles X kind of case, and we need to reform it and handle it in this way with these steps.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, optimization across the board is one way you could boil down social work. Finance, addiction rehabilitation, child development, cross-cultural mediation, occupational safety and health, disaster management, mental health, psychosocial therapy, or disabilities, among many
That
other
is
things.
the wildest list of tasks. Can you
if
imagine?
you had added like car repair, HVAC, I'd be like, oh, okay.
Farming,
farming.
It's everything.
animal husbandry.
Yeah.
It's literally what is everything that society needs besides like firefighting.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like everything. It's such a heavy lift, just one of those things.
Yeah. Social work is sort of like Well, it's like the grease in an engine. Not that I understand how engines work.
I'm
but,
like,
you know,
okay,
it
let's
just
see how
makes
she
your-
navigates this
It's
metaphor.
It just makes
Cats
your
in wigs.
yeah. So like a cat, like a cat with a wig. Like okay, it's already functioning as a cat with a wig, but social work is like
The fibers
it's
in
like
the
the
wig.
it's like the gold bond that keeps the cat's heads from itching.
Yeah. Okay.
It just makes it work better. It's optimization.
Okay.
Maybe the comb that gets all those stray pink hairs out.
I think you have nailed it, and we can move on to the next part of this segment.
Thank you for your support.
I love you.
I love you too. Social work is an interdisciplinary profession, meaning that it draws from a number of areas such as, but
Everywhere.
not limited to, here's another list for Kenya.
Forestry.
Agriculture. Psychology, sociology, politics, criminology, economics, ecology, education, health, law, philosophy, anthropology, and counseling, including psychotherapy. Ray, get the fuck out of here.
Geology.
Niche.
Obstetrics.
Algebra.
Algebra. Optometry. Aerial yoga.
Silks.
Stilts. Clownery. Standard stage magic and sleight of hand.
Intermediate stage magic and
and
sleight of hand.
Advanced stage magic and sleight of hand.
Zero waste events.
Holy shit,
How
I
to
don't
steal copper wiring.
I don't know how, like you, I am speaking directly to you, social workers. I don't know how you do it.
No.
Well, it's not like each social worker covers all of these things.
Right.
No, but there is so much need and so little resource. And it's
Yeah.
just, you're expected to have a knowledge and understanding of so many different fields to
Yeah.
be effective.
And
It's absurd.
unlimited time and
Yes.
unlimited empathy and unlimited, yeah, it's just, wow.
It's a lot. So
It's a
you're
lot. So,
amazing.
yet again, hats off to social workers in general.
Cats
My
with wigs
God.
off to you.
Wigs off to you, social workers. I'm going to start saying that instead of hats off.
Oh.
According to researchers Philip Popple and Leslie Leininger, those are real words.
Got it.
Stop it.
Herb
Did you hear
Erblinger.
that?
I heard you
God.
scream, stop it.
Well, it was Ray was attacking Ghostface again.
So yes,
Anyway.
we heard that.
So, according to PP and LL, there are 7 core functions of a social worker. Number 1, engagement. The social worker must first engage the client in early meetings to promote a collaborative relationship. By the way, a client, when we talk about social worker client, that can be an individual, a family, an organization, like a branch of government. It can be any, it can take on many forms.
Depends on the case. Okay.
Assessment. Data must be gathered that will guide and direct a plan of action to help the client. Number 3, planning. They then negotiate and formulate an action plan. Followed by implementation. They promote resource acquisition and enhance role performance. Okay, then we have monitoring and evaluation, which is ongoing documentation through short-term goal attainment of the extent to which the client is following through.
M&E, which is giving me horrible trauma flashbacks back to grad school.
Are you okay?
Everything was M&E, monitoring and evaluation. But everyone was just like, that was like the important class to take. You had to try to get into it, blah, blah, blah. Every new job description when I graduated was all about M&E.
I don't like that.
Yep.
Then we have supportive counseling, which is affirming, challenging, encouraging, informing, and exploring options. And then at the end, we have graduated disengagement, which is seeking to replace the social worker themselves with a naturally occurring resource.
This is basically the like exact step-by-step breakdown of like LADC work in addiction counseling.
Yep.
It's
I think that
it follows
these-
the exact same arc.
I think any sort of counselor would sort of follow these same steps.
Yeah. And in addiction counseling, you do work very closely with social workers and in tandem with social workers on case management. So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. According to the National Association of Social Workers, there are 6 core values of a social worker. The first is service. So you help people in need and address social problems. Then social justice, which is challenging social injustices. You recognize the dignity and worth of the person, your client. You recognize the importance of human relationships. You have integrity, which means you behave in a trustworthy manner. And you have competence. So you practice within the areas of one's expertise and develop and enhance professional skills. So that's kind of a background of what social work is. And so now I have a little bit of history for you. So straight from Wikipedia. I hope your expectations were not that high.
I love a wiki history. A quickie wiki.
A quickie from Wiki. The practice and profession of social work has a relatively modern and scientific origin and is generally considered to have developed out of 3 strands. The first was individual casework, which was a strategy pioneered by the Charity Organization Society in the mid-19th century, which was founded by Helen Bosanquet. Nailed it. Bosanquet.
If you just get quieter towards
Then you
the
just
syllables that you don't know how to pronounce.
They're never going to know. How would they know? And Octavia Hill in London, England. Most historians identify COS, the Charity Organization Society, as the pioneering organization of the social theory that led to the emergence of social work as a professional occupation. COS had its main focus on individual casework. The second was social administration, which included various forms of poverty relief. Social work itself, like historically, had its roots absolutely in trying to alleviate poverty.
But only for like, a lot of it was like early days, of course, was like finding like the deserving poor.
Right.
Yes.
Well, the whole like what do they call it? The like charity. I can't remember. It's like it's basically like the charity industrial complex where it's like exactly that same sentiment where it's like gatekeeping who gets these funds, who's deserving of these funds,
Well,
and how it can be so deeply problematic.
As we'll kind of talk about here, I mean, this was happening in Europe in like the 17th, 18th, 19th centuries when their politics were really ingrained in like the clergy. So you'd have like political goals and then like ecclesiastic goals that were similar. Well, they were just so ingrained with each other.
Right.
So of course, like all of Christianity is about who deserves redemption.
Right.
So
It was all wrapped up together. There was no separation.
exactly. Okay, so poverty relief. Statewide poverty relief could be said to have its roots in the English Poor Laws of the 17th century. And I kind of Googled that a little bit. It was basically like really early, like, what am I trying to think of?
Like, did they set up workhouses and stuff for people who like couldn't pay their debts?
Yeah, at the beginning though, it was basically any sort of aid for poor people whatsoever. And then they also had law. So back in the 17th century, they would have laws against like begging.
Yeah.
So around this time was when they were actually recognizing that poverty is a societal issue.
And we still have those laws now. They're just in much prettier language.
Exactly.
To hide it. Yeah.
Yeah. So right around this time was the first time where there was any sort of like widespread sympathy for people who were poor. This understanding that it's like generational, that it's circumstantial, like, you know, you can't help it if you're poor. Before then, people were just like, you're poor, my life sucks too. Good luck. Bye.
Right.
There's like a growing understanding that it is by design in a lot of ways like a snake eating its own tail. Like you just get trapped in that cycle.
At the same time, the government around this time and in the later centuries just like sent a lot of poor people away to the colonies and to Australia and whatever. And they were like, go be poor out of sight.
Right. And it's then, so fucked up because that's how we like deal with it in major cities.
It still happens now. I know people get like a Greyhound bus ticket to just go away.
Not even that. I mean, yes, that, but also like looking at for a huge example is the Skid Row area of Los Angeles, where people are just segregated into these areas of the city because the rich folks that are gentrifying all of the neighborhoods around there don't want to provide any solutions or aid, but also don't want to see the problem.
Right. Yeah.
It's just so
literally
it's
like
so fucked.
A block away.
It's deeply problematic, deeply racist, and that is not a solution to the problem at all.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so statewide poverty relief could be said to have its roots in the English Poor Laws of the 17th century, but was first systematized through the efforts of the Charity Organization Society. The third kind of pillar of early social work, the third consisted of social action rather than engaging in the resolution of immediate individual requirements. The emphasis was placed on political action, working through the community and the group to improve their social conditions and thereby alleviate poverty. So this approach was developed originally by the settlement house movement. So if you've ever heard of that, it's basically they set up these. Oh, well, I copied and pasted it in my next paragraph. Here we go. The settlement movement was a reformist social movement that began in the 1880s and peaked around the 1920s in England and the United States. Its goal was to bring the rich and the poor of society together in both physical proximity, like we were saying about Skid Row kind of, and social interconnectedness. Its main object was the establishment of settlement houses in poor urban areas in which volunteer middle-class settlement workers would live, hoping to share knowledge and culture with and alleviate the poverty of their low-income neighbors. The settlement houses provided services such as daycare, education, and healthcare to improve the lives of the poor in these areas.
Okay.
So,
I've
heard
worse ideas.
Yeah, I mean, it on paper, it sounds like a good idea, but then when you factor in the, like, racism, classism, and elitism of the quote-unquote volunteers of, like, the upper class volunteers.
I'm getting some Teach for America vibes.
Yeah, I mean, that opens a lot of doors.
There's a reason this isn't still around.
Right.
It opens a lot of doors for, like, white saviorism and gentrification, and it's, yeah, that's
I mean, we can pick apart those kinds of things in
there
like
isn't
today's understanding
perfect
of but I think at the time this was a lot fucking better than the alternative.
It was better than a workhouse or being shipped in chains to Australia.
Exactly. Yeah. It was like they were trying something new.
Right.
And then, I mean, maybe it's hard to know how much they knew it would fail going into it. Like, there are people with high hopes for programs like this.
I think in a lot of ways it was fairly successful, though. So,
I mean, they did provide, it sounds like they did provide some services.
And that's the key to it, is the provision of services and resources, because access to resources is what we know actually works.
Right.
It's a creation of a community that is more equitable together, working together. So I thought it was kind of cool, and it was also something that I had never heard about before, the settlement movement. So
me either. I cannot wait for it to be a show on Acorn TV. Settlement House.
My God,
Settlement House.
Oh, no.
My Yorkshire Settlement.
And I will watch it while drinking a wintry mix cocktail.
Good God.
Wintry mix. Oh, my Lord. Okay.
She's going full goop. Let's rein her in.
She gon' goop. Oh, no.
Rogue gooping. Every time Kenyon starts blissfully branding, it's like rogue gooping. That's what it feels like to me. I love it.
I like what I like, okay?
I love it. I'm not going to buy a candle that smells like your vagina, but like I support.
I didn't buy it.
Good. It's like a $60 candle.
I know.
Like an $80 candle after shipping. I checked.
Oh,
I know.
shipping for candles, man.
They're
They're
Too rich for my blood. Okay.
I did.
I'll just
go
have
on
to
a
imagine what Gwyneth Paltrow's labia majora smells like.
ick.
Like a plebe.
Citrus.
Like a plebe. Oh my God. I don't want to know that. Okay. A number of factors advanced social work as a profession in the 19th century, particularly in Europe. So we've got those poor laws in England, which are driven by social changes, including the effects of the Victorian era. So that's kind of where we see a lot of that conflation of politics and religion.
And
And
morality.
like who deserves charity.
Right.
Fucking Victorians, yes. Then in Ireland, there's the potato famine, which killed about 1.5 million people and left countless others in abject poverty. The Industrial Revolution created a pretty big fucking mess of social and economic inequality and urban-based poverty. This was sort of the first time we're seeing these particular, like, modern problems.
Starting to develop.
Yeah, and they developed pretty quickly. So basically, there were a lot of poor people in Europe around this time, and social work was more or less born out of charity work and initially only focused on alleviating poverty, like I said. In the U.S. in the early 20th century, in particular after World War II, mental health care became a thing, and this was started largely by the work of Dorothy Lind Dix, a retired teacher in Boston who's credited with starting the mental health movement, which really didn't peak until like the end of the 20th century. So she was way ahead of her time. The evolving role of social workers made an impact with the 2001 invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan, with social workers working out of the NATO hospitals. They made visits to provide counseling services at forward operating bases. So a couple stats behind that, 22% of their clients were diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Wow.
Kind of shocked that it's only that low.
I know, but that's still so much.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
17% with depression and 7% with alcohol use disorder. So clearly social workers were invaluable at that place in time as well. On a related note, I read some things about India. In Indian history, there are references to mental health disorders that date back to around 300 BC.
Wow.
Wow.
So, like, just because the Western world is fucking catching up does not mean that these were, like, unexplored territories at
Well, we
at
just
this
used
time.
to ascribe it all to, different religious failings
Exactly.
and wonders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Various phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
So the average salary for a social worker in 2020 was $51,760.
Way too low.
Yep.
As of 2018, the Bureau of Labor Statistics estimates that there are around 707,400 social workers employed in the United States. And the most recent BLS data suggests that by 2028, there could be more than 788,000 social workers.
That's
Also not enough because
I know,
their
that's so
purview
low.
is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. However, in the U.S., there are more clinically trained social workers than psychiatrists, psychologists, and psychiatric nurses combined, which
That's
makes sense when
interesting.
you think of the breadth of what they cover.
It
And
does.
also the number of years that it takes to train because it takes a while to train as a social
Yeah.
worker, but it takes longer to train as a psychiatrist or
Well,
psychiatric
yeah,
nurse, I
for
would
social
imagine.
work, you need at least a bachelor's degree. I mean,
Probably a master's.
in social work. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You can
lots
get
of,
a
like,
master's in
fields.
social work, but there are certainly jobs you can acquire in that field without your master's in social work.
I think the primary training for social workers is working in the field. So if you have your bachelor's degree in whatever associated field, and then you get your first job, and then you do a bunch of work there, that's kind of the primary.
It probably depends. Probably depends on when people entered the field, and there are people that have been doing it for a long time that didn't get it, and now there's all kinds of academic inflation.
And if you want to be like a higher up, like a more of like a research administrative role, or if you want to be like boots on the ground,
Right.
you know.
I'm sure it ranges, yeah.
Yeah. So to finish us out, here are the top 5 reasons that I personally could never be a social worker.
All right.
Number 1.
Empathy. Just kidding.
You know, I have a lot of empathy.
You do.
I have a lot of empathy, but just in general, I just can't bring myself to care that much about like most other people. Like a random person, it's like, oh, that's nice. I'm
Do you
gonna.
want a photo all together?
You want a photo all together?
That's
Yep.
it.
That's where the empathy begins and ends.
I have a whole lot of really. My empathy pool is huge but shallow.
It's
Right.
yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
And mine,
I
I think,
mean-
is the opposite. Mine is very
Deep,
deep,
but
only for like the
10
like
people.
It's like Calvinist. It's like, are you one of the select?
Yep.
If so, I would die for you.
But if not, you can fuck off.
Go fuck yourself.
I am unqualified and afraid to assess myself in this area.
You're like a
We're self-aware.
scatter plot.
Yeah, you surprise me sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like the
Every once in a while, you're like, oh, well, she's my goddaughter. You're like, what?
I had no idea that Ruby was your goddaughter until like a couple of days
I thought
ago.
you were joking. I
No.
didn't realize. And then, yeah,
It's true.
every once
I
in a
keep some things close to the chest. And
Oh
some
my
things
God.
not at all. Like my
things.
chest.
Self-awareness all around. We got
Yeah.
there.
No, I definitely think I'm an empath, sometimes to my detriment. That's fair to say.
Yeah.
That's about as qualified as I feel to assess that.
Number 2. My actual genuine advice would probably not fall in line with like clinical standards. So like,
Or, like,
if your
putting
husband was
Kahlua in your
cheating on you,
coffee.
like just kill him.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Fuck him.
Eliminate
Yeah.
the problem.
No.
It's your own death.
You do have a lot of information, knowledge that you've acquired through this job on how to make those kinds of very inappropriate recommendations. So that's fair.
Yeah, my
Can't be a social worker, probably couldn't serve on a jury now.
not now, thank God. The one time I had jury duty was the worst.
I am sad that I will probably never be selected for jury
I've never
duty.
been selected, and if I did now, I think that I'd be dismissed immediately.
Immediately. Immediately.
Yeah. I'd be smeared out the door.
Okay, so number 3, I have a very short attention span. So like active listening, no thank you.
She would be coloring.
A cornerstone of this work is active listening, reflection, summarization.
The episodes where we don't have video, I am playing Animal Crossing. That doesn't
we
mean
know.
I'm not listening. But like you can't do that when you're in a first time meeting your client. They're telling you about like all their personal shit. And you're just like, yep.
It's like
What are
in
your
the
turnip
office
prices?
when they're teaching Dwight how to interact with a female client. And they're teaching him active listening, and he just cannot. And he's just nodding his head with his eyes huge.
Ew.
It's just horrifying and so good.
It's just, yeah, it's the face-to-face thing.
It's not a job for you.
It's not a job for me.
No.
Reason number 4, this isn't a job for me.
How many items are on this listicle?
5.
10?
Okay.
5. You'd have to leave the house every day.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Every day. Like weekends aren't a thing in social work.
No. And like every once in a while, I'm sure you have a case where you're just like actually really personally upset about it. I can't deal with that. My anxiety is high enough as it is.
You need lots of therapy and skills in healthy compartmentalization and boundaries to do that kind of work. And those are not easy skills to develop, and most people do not inherently have those skills. Because
I'm bad at boundaries.
you also need to have some level of empathy to be
Right.
good in this work.
Right.
And that does require
That's
a
such
little
a fine
bit.
line.
Yeah, it requires a little bit of like personal investment so that you can have those bonds of empathy. But then, yeah, it's so easy for it to go too far, and then to the
Yep.
detriment of your position.
Yeah, of your own mental health.
Well, your own mental health and like your relationship with the client. Like it affects the client as well.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
not
for sure.
it's not good for anybody.
You can't call them on a Sunday night and be like, okay, so did your ex-husband get back to you? Like,
Right.
no.
Yeah.
5, last but not least, there is so much ongoing training, blech, like conferences and certification, blech,
Have to learn. Ugh.
constantly.
I mean, you could argue that we have to do that every episode. Learn something new.
That's different.
Yeah,
There are
but,
no
like-
lanyards involved.
That's fair. I hate a lanyard.
Yeah, no, can't deal with lanyards. Also,
Have a
in my
lanyard right
job,
here.
I can make listicles such as, this is why I could never do this job with like personal traits of my own. Ew, you have a lanyard?
Well, technically, it's for an award that I won as part of sort of like a team, like Clue type game that I played with some friends in Minneapolis, and it was literally Clue themed, and we dressed up and we won for best dressed. We did
Were
not
you-
win in terms of solving the puzzles the fastest.
In terms of winning.
We were best dressed.
Were you
team.
Miss Peacock with
I
your fucking
was.
hair? Of course
And
you
the
were.
peacock tail that Scott made.
Duh. Oh, that was
Clued
good.
Up, Murder Mystery Event 2019.
Nice.
That's cute.
My only
so,
lanyard.
This goes without saying, God bless the world's social workers. You do very difficult and very important work that benefits all of us. Cheers to you.
And now let's
Holy
shit on a
shit.
couple of you.
I could literally never do what you're doing.
There are gonna be some people who are bad at it.
In every single possible career, you're gonna
Angels
find
of Death Part 1 and 2.
Right.
We're not saying doctors are bad, but some of them are monsters.
precisely. Nailed it. Well done. I liked your
Yeah.
segment a lot.
Thank.
All right.
Lots to chew on.
Are we ready for my case?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm gonna drink some wine.
Oh God. If you're drinking already to prepare,
Yeah.
that's not good.
Also, it's sad. The system failed a lot of people, and it's also pretty complicated. So buckle up.
Great. That's code for please don't ask me any questions so that we can get through this, and I accept.
Yes. Yes. Basically, yes. Okay, so
I'm going to change my
guys-
status on Facebook to it's complicated to prepare for this.
you guys know that I've been on a Gallic.
Garlic
Kick.
bread.
Gallic thread. Yes.
Gaelic.
That's Irish. And so this case
they
comes out of
different?
yeah, so Gaelic is Irish Gaelic and Gallic is Scottish.
And they're two completely different languages?
Yes.
Oh, that's just complicated.
That's
There's-
very
You're right.
complicated.
It is
This,
complicated.
yeah, I already
I'm
can't
already
keep up.
lost.
Yeah.
So that's not part of my case, but I was inspired to do a case out of Scotland.
Great.
So
Can't wait for more targeted ads for that train trip through Scotland that I've been repeatedly getting since Kenyon started on this Gallic.
Okay, but we're doing that because that sounds amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, it does sound amazing, and I'm all in.
Alaba Hobria.
Okay.
Scotland is so pretty. Okay.
All right. We're ready for your case.
I love the Gallic. It's so good.
South Rinalsay is a small island with a population of about 900 people located in the Orkney Islands of Scotland.
So a
Bustling
small
metropolis.
community.
Very small community, 900 people in these islands that are already pretty far from Scotland, and part of Scotland feels pretty remote, so it's kind of out there. Access to the island is limited, and outsiders and newcomers are rare. Islanders refer to anyone whose family has not been there for generations as a, quote, incomer.
Do they
Okay.
have a target?
No.
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 This island sounds lovely and a little too far from the mall for Mandy.
Mm-hmm. There are, I'm sure that I put maps on the drive because you know I love a good map.
You do love a good
She
map.
does. Oh, yeah,
Okay.
there they are.
So, however, in the mid-1980s, there was a small influx of incomer families, eventually leading to a shocking series of events on this normally sleepy rock.
Ooh, I'm getting real broad church vibes, and I know that is not the same place, but I'm feeling it.
Mm-hmm. These incomer families, which were identified in the press only by their initials at first, and so I'm just going to stick to the initials because some members of these families later came out and used their, identified themselves and used their names, but not all of them. And so just to be respectful, we're just going to go with initials.
Mm-hmm.
So these
Less complicated for us.
Yeah. So the families were Mr. and Mrs. B, as in boy, who had 3 children and had moved to the island after visiting on a summer trip and deciding they liked it so much that they wanted to buy a home there.
Love it.
Mr. and Mrs. H, who had 2 children and had done much the same thing, came to the island on vacation, fell in love, decided to stay. Mr. and Mrs. M, who had 2 children and had both been teachers back in England and had moved to the island to fulfill their dream of living on a farm and kind of getting back to the land.
Okay.
Mr. and Mrs. T, who had 2 children and were the only Jewish family on the island.
Mm-hmm.
And they had moved there from Israel and lived in a large farmhouse with a workshop where Mr. T did metalworking and made jewelry. And that is making me very aroused. So,
Whoa!
a Jewish family who moves to
Jeweler.
Scotland to do metal
To
work.
make jewelry.
Metalworking. Is a jeweler someone who makes jewelry, or is it someone who sells jewelry? I don't know the difference.
This person
Well, her
makes jewelry.
description
Right, but I
said
mean
made
the
jewelry.
term jeweler specifically.
I don't
Does
know.
it apply to both?
I think it's a person who deals in jewels.
I'm gonna
Technically.
look that up while you're continuing to slide off your chair for Mr. T.
Icky Adam Sandler in that one movie that was highly stressful.
Oh, Uncut Gems.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Can't. Okay, so finally, there was the W family, whose recent history was much more complex and tragic than the other families.
Makes or sells jewelry, so this person would also be a jeweler.
Okay.
Continue.
The W family had 15 children.
That's a lot
No.
of children.
Mm-hmm.
From one uterus?
From, yes, one
That
man
poor
and one
uterus.
woman.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
I want to send that uterus a gift basket.
Right? An edible arrangement.
Mm-hmm. They had moved to South Rinalsay in 1985. In 1987, Mr. W was arrested for physically and sexually abusing several of his children,
Oh, no.
Oh.
No.
and he was sentenced to 7 years in prison.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.
Mrs. W remained on the island with the children and received regular visits from social workers to check on the family's well-being. And it seems like it is confirmed by both the children who are now adults and it's documented Mr. W did commit these abuses and crimes and should have gone to jail and probably should have gone to jail for longer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that part is true and factual. And although the W family was in a much different set of circumstances from the other incomer families who all had careers and homes and a couple of kids and were kind of middle class, whatever.
Sure.
They did all have in common the fact that they were these outsiders in this tiny island community and they were seen as other, and the locals didn't always feel very welcoming to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so by default, they became each other's social circle, even though they didn't all have that much in common.
So they're all
Yeah.
further isolated.
Mm-hmm.
So not all of them have kids, right?
They all have kids.
BHM. Oh, yeah, they all have kids.
They
Okay.
all have kids, but the W family has 15
Yeah.
kids. And the husband
So many
is in
kids.
prison now.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
As
okay.
as he should be.
Yes.
So Mrs. T and Mrs. M became especially close to Mrs. W. And made a point of checking in on her whenever they could and helping her with the kids because she is a single mom now of 15 kids.
15 kids who, many of whom have been abused, so now they've
abused and
experienced a lot of
traumatized.
trauma. Yeah. That's a tall order regardless of how fanciful your upbringing is.
Right. So the other moms are pitching in a lot.
I'd be curious to know the age range of those kids. Like if the older ones were old enough to help out with the younger ones.
Probably some.
Yeah, some
probably. They're at least a 15 years span.
Yeah, well, the case spans a number of years, so I can't give you like just one age range. But
and also maybe some had left the island by then too.
Some are grown, some are still in the house. Yeah. So, the social workers on the island made twice weekly visits to the W home, but they began to feel frustrated because whenever they came in to check on the family, they would find Mrs. T and Mrs. M there. And the social workers were annoyed by this because
they don't want neighbors around when they're doing their assessments and all that.
Yeah.
Right. But for the moms, it was like, hey, we're all one big...
we're a collective.
Yeah, right. Which is...
For a commune.
It
is
a village.
necessary because I have 15 fucking kids.
Well, and like tons of families provide each other communal support, whether it's in or outside of like familial lineage. Like that's
and also it's just easier, depending on how old the kids are, it's just easier to let them all run around together than having to entertain your two kids.
Every time two moms are having a glass of wine while their kids blend together running around the yard is what this is.
It's human nature to like that community rearing.
Right. So the social workers voiced their frustrations to Mrs. W, but she told them that the other women were her friends and she didn't see the problem with them being there. And also, it's her own fucking home.
Yeah.
The social workers never spoke to Mrs. T or Mrs. M about their presence being unwanted during the check-ins. Okay. So they only spoke to Mrs. W about it, and she was like, I want them here, so they're here.
Right.
They
also,
never said anything.
Don't stress me out about this. Life is cruel enough.
Yeah.
On this cold rock in northern Scotland.
Yeah.
But as the social workers' frustrations grew, they came to believe, whipped up in their own minds, that the neighbor women were purposely obstructing their work.
Oh, for God's sakes. You tried being alone with 15 kids all the time.
I can see both sides of this, for sure.
Yeah, but they could have said to the neighbors.
Yeah, they made this
Can you
hypothesis.
not come on Tuesdays and Thursdays or whatever?
Exactly. They made they whipped up this theory without actually addressing the issue that they're creating in their own head.
Or
so if they were obstructing, then they,
Right.
like Kenyon said, they could have advised these two neighbors to be like,
I'm
here's
not
the
saying-
thing, this is not protocol. We need to have these visits without
I'm not
you present.
saying they went about it the right way, but I can see how they came to that conclusion. is
Right.
all.
But what they should have done is you ask politely. If you think that you still have the right to tell Mrs. W what neighbors can be in her home when you do your check-ins, which you fucking don't, but whatever, then you can do
You
like
have
a
to make your
written warning
expectations
or like
clear.
Yeah.
Especially, but like, I mean, obviously not all social workers do like home check-ins, like unannounced visits. But I think those that do, they've got a tough job already. So yes, they do need to communicate what's okay, what's not okay, what helps them do their job, and what doesn't.
For sure. That's definitely true, but like it doesn't sound like they were
Doing that.
forming
Yeah,
that
no, it doesn't.
trust and bond with the client. Like
Yeah.
So then in 1990, one of the W children made a comment during one of these visits that led the social workers to believe that she was being sexually abused by an older sibling.
Okay.
One of the 15.
One of the 15, which again, if if the siblings had been abused themselves, it's possible.
It's definitely a possibility.
Right.
Can't rule it out.
Right. So after some deliberation, it was decided that the 7 W children who were still under the age of 16 should be removed from the home.
Oh, that's so
because of a
awful.
comment that one child made during one visit.
And they decided to remove these children from the home after the comment, but not with any further investigation? They just made this decision based only on the comment.
We will get to it.
Okay.
The children were taken out of school and transported to mainland Scotland, where they were initially placed in a group home and then in different foster homes.
Oh, God, separating these kids.
Can you imagine going from a family of 15 plus 2 parents to like by yourself or with a couple other stranger siblings in a foster environment?
Yeah, I don't know if they kept some of them in pairs or trios or how it worked. I imagine it's difficult to find a foster family for 7.
Right.
It's just really disruptive.
But yeah, I mean,
and
separating
sad
siblings
and
is never
traumatizing.
good.
Yeah, it's really, really sad.
The local minister on the island, Maurice Mackenzie, supported by the TMB and H families, started a campaign to get the W children returned. So the local minister is on their side, arguing that Mrs. W needed the financial and social support not to have her children taken away. So he was
she
like,
needs
look,
resources, not to separate this family.
Right. And this further increased the divide between the social workers and these families. And it
because
seemed
the social workers already have it in their head that these families are fucking like interfering and obstructing their work.
Yeah.
So any fucking advocacy from this community is going to be seen as a negative.
right.
Oh my God.
And that's a dynamic that these neighbors don't fully understand because they've never been spoken to directly about it by the social workers.
Oh God.
So there's this divide, it's increasing, and these families advocating on behalf of the W family is reaffirming
unintentionally
these
making
beliefs.
it worse. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that the nature of social work itself, too, can be easily misconstrued because I think at the beginning, like everybody has good intentions, but of course, like if those good intentions lead to, for example, taking children away from their parents or parents.
There's definitely going to be hostility and there can definitely be an us versus them and like secret
1000%.
keeping.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Where it should be supportive and helping, it can be adversarial for sure.
Well, when it comes to your kid, I obviously do not have kids, but when it comes to your kids, I can see how any parent would be like,
oh, you'd be so paranoid.
fuck right off. Yeah.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
these are my babies.
Like by any means necessary.
Right.
Exactly.
And then things took a turn for the very strange.
Oh jeez.
Mrs. W was not told the locations of her children,
Oh God.
but she was told that she could send them mail through the social work department, all of which was monitored. And soon the social workers noticed that a large volume of mail was arriving for the children, not only from Mrs. W, but from the other incomer families and the minister as well. People who loved these kids. People who had like helped kind of raise these kids, close family friends. The protocol they decided on was to open and read the mail before passing it on to the children in order to make sure it was appropriate, which I do understand that. And in doing so, they came to believe that the correspondence contained, quote, suspicious hidden messages.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Among the things that the social workers found suspicious were you guys are going to freak out. The phrases be brave and be strong, which they interpreted as veiled threats that the children should keep quiet about something and resist speaking to the social workers.
That's ridiculous.
What?
That is
Like, I know we're not given the context here,
fucking
but
ridiculous.
that sounds
Do we
fucking
even need
stupid.
it?
And of course, as a parent, or family friend, of course you're going to tell your kids who have been
Be
taken from their
brave.
home and sent to a different island,
Who are scared and isolated and
new
alone,
families and without their siblings, and
to be brave.
be brave and be strong. What else would you even fucking say to them? I love you. Be brave.
Yeah.
The phrase be the best was interpreted as be the beast.
Wasn't that
What?
Melania Trump's thing?
Be
Be
best
best.
campaign
Yeah.
Be best.
Be
Be
beast.
beast.
ish.
Yeah.
I'm
So-
choosing to misinterpret that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they just read it wrong and mounted an entire theory
Mhm.
on their mistake
Oh,
again,
that's nice.
Mhm.
because they just keep mounting all of this shit on top of their own negligence.
A letter from Mrs. T to one of the W boys that described repairing an electric heater. A social worker felt that this was not a topic that made any sense to be discussing with a young boy and so must be a coded message. He probably just enjoyed tinkering with
Mechanics.
stuff.
We had two boys who lived across the street from us growing up, and the older of the two, who's probably listening right now, hello, Sam, like loved fucking taking apart their
Yeah.
telephone and putting it back together and was like super into the little engineering projects, like
Right.
had an erector set and built all this shit. Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah.
That's not even that weird for a young kid to be like, oh my gosh, guess what I got to do today?
Yeah.
I got
No,
to
and
take
especially-
apart a machine.
How cool.
I mean,
and this is
speaking-
what I did.
Speaking as an adult who never has a not awkward conversation with a child, if you're going to write a child a letter, like, what are you going to say? Like, how was your day at work? No, you're going to be like, oh, guess what I did? You know,
Yeah. You have to have something to say.
anything to get them to read it, get them to feel like you're with them at home, comfortable,
So wait,
whatever.
was it-
Like the Case 2 SNL sketch trying to talk to children. Child translation services, where she, at the
yeah.
beginning, she's like, so you probably have a backpack.
Yeah. That's me with children.
I need to rewatch that sketch.
I have to take
But,
my sweater
okay,
off. I'm so
clarify
hot. You might
something
see
for
my
me.
nips, whatever.
Go for it. Was it Mrs. W, the mom, who sent the correspondence talking about taking apart the heater, or was it the child who talked about it?
No, it's one of the neighbor ladies
was
wrote
one of
to
the
one of the
other-
boys.
One of the other incomers, which is why I'm saying, like, it wasn't even her own child.
Right.
So she had
So-
she probably was like,
here's
oh,
one
this
thing I know
kid-
you're interested in.
Right.
I'm gonna stick to that.
Yes.
Oh, we will get to the interests. Hold
Okay.
on, I have to take my sweater off.
She's sweating.
My headphones are stuck in my hair.
Okay, please, John, do not cut this because this is stunning Patreon content. Oh, it's fully wrapped.
Oh,
Y'all,
no.
subscribe at any level to see what we are seeing right now.
Jeez.
How much hair did you lose just now? She
half.
can't answer because
She's
she's
got
got headphones
enough.
on. Yeah, that's true. She's
All
got
right.
plenty. How much
That
hair
is-
did you lose in that battle?
No, yeah, not enough.
That was amazing.
Wow. Okay. Well, that is some good Patreon content. All
Yeah,
right,
we're,
there.
we're keeping it.
Keep it in.
So, quote, mention of turtles, which seemed to lack context, raised
I
a
like
red flag.
turtles.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I guess
And-
I can just never talk to my nieces again because it will all be encrypted messages.
Right.
None of it makes sense. They're what, 7 and 5?
Yeah.
4?
Right.
They're
Ugh.
kids. Who gives a fuck? My God.
Quote, paraphernalia related to turtles, including a, quote, considerable number of fluffy toys.
Stuffed animals.
Yeah. They were
Stuffed
Turtle
turtles.
paraphernalia,
Right.
meaning stuffed turtles.
right.
These social workers are starting to sound like a bunch of stuffed shirts.
So the letters that were deemed suspicious were photocopied and given to a social worker named Liz McLean, who was traveling to the mainland to conduct interviews with the W children who were in these foster homes. It was decided that she should be accompanied in these interviews by a South Rinaldsay police officer in case any criminal charges arose from something one of the children said during the interviews.
Like
So
another
now-
sexual assault or
right.
something.
So now there's a social worker from this little island who already has all her preconceived notions, and a police officer from that island who is also a local.
And we
and
all
has
know
preconceived
how we
notions.
feel about cops. Cops are useless.
God.
There we go.
Yeah,
Hit quota hit.
sensitive topic this week.
Unfortunately, there was
Cops
a
are
total
useless.
lack of protocol in the island's social work department when it came to conducting interviews, and so the meetings were not recorded,
Oh my god.
even though audio and video equipment was available.
Yeah, it's the 90s, not like the 1990s, not the 1890s. We had Law and Order at the same time. Like the
Even
show.
in remote Scotland.
Right? Probably.
Also, Liz McLean herself took no notes during the meetings.
How
Okay, that's just bad protocol.
on earth?
On every level.
The only records that exist of these conversations with the W children are reports that were written by the police officer after the meetings ended based on his memory of the conversations. Again, he is a police officer
Oh,
and
good.
not a social worker and not even trained in like interviewing children about abuse.
Well, we can just blindly trust the police. That's fine.
And so, although some of the W children definitely made some disturbing comments during these meetings, there is no record of what exactly Liz McLean was saying to them to like get them to say these things.
Yeah, she could easily have been manipulating the questioning.
It also depends on which kids had previously been abused by their father.
Absolutely.
And so they could be talking about past trauma,
Mm-hmm.
which we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And he's already out of the picture.
Yeah, and a proper investigation was not conducted.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So several of the W children would later speak about how terrifying and manipulative they had found Liz McLean, with one of them recalling, quote, in order to get out of a room after an hour or so of saying, no, this never happened, you'd break down.
Yeah.
Because she like wouldn't let them leave the room until they admitted that they'd experienced some kind of abuse.
I mean, it also doesn't surprise me that she has a police officer in tow for that kind of questioning, because that's like a legit police tactic, too.
Yeah, it's like an interrogation.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, God, these poor kids. That's some fucking Brendan Dassey shit,
Yeah.
where it's like he wanted to watch wrestling.
He wanted
And
to
they're
go back
like,
to
okay.
class.
Yeah, it's like, just, okay, well, then just tell us what we need and we'll let you go. And they completely led him
Yeah.
to give him those answers, to give investigators those answers. It's so fucked up.
So a summary of one interview with a W child who was 8 years old at the time reads, we spoke to M about music and asked her if she likes music. This is confusing because M is now being used to designate that child.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Mary, I have no idea. She said, so asked if she likes music. She said, yes, I like music and dancing. We asked her what kind of music. She said Kylie Minogue and Michael Jackson.
Get it.
Love Kylie Minogue.
Kylie
She has
Minogue.
incredible taste, and I love it.
Fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, still love Kylie. She said, we listen to this when we're dancing. We asked her who listens. She drew a figure, human, and put a penis on it and then said something she identified as a cloak. She said, that's Morris's Willie, and then laughed as she said this. She then very quickly drew a hook-type object coming from the figure's arm. She said, that's Morris in the middle. She was asked what he was wearing, and she described a long black cloak with a hood up over his head and a black mask over his eyes. We asked her, what happens? M said, he hooks you when you're dancing.
Okay.
With further prompting, M described the figure she called Morris, putting his willy into someone's fanny while other people continued to dance around in a circle. In another interview a couple days later, they continued to ask M for more details while also pressing her on the significance of turtles
Oh, for God's sake. So she's probably also
God.
extremely confused.
Yeah.
She
Because in
was
the
like-
same fucking line of
She's like,
questioning,
okay,
it's
these
like,
grown-ups are talking nonsense to me.
yeah,
I
who's
can
sexually
talk
abusing
nonsense
you
back to them.
also? What do the turtles mean?
Right.
Also, what do I have to say to get the fuck out of this room and go back to my life?
Yeah.
Like, what do I have to agree to? You know?
Mm-hmm. Also,
Brendan
like,
Dassey.
kids at a certain age are figuring out parts. Also, she's got a bunch of siblings. She's
Yeah.
gonna know, like, some bodies have penises
Well,
and
she's
some
what,
bodies
8?
don't.
This
Yeah.
kid? Okay, so when my sister was like, what, 5?
Yeah.
There's a story in our family about how at the grocery store in the checkout line, my sister to the boy behind the checkout counter was like, boys have a penis and girls have a vagina, and you have a penis because you're a boy, and my
Right.
dad has a penis and it's like a tail in the front. And my mother,
Yeah.
horrified, like trying to write a check for our groceries, is like, I don't know, she's 5
A
Yeah.
tail in the
front. And you know what? she's not
Perfect description.
She's not
honestly.
wrong
not
about the
that
tail in the
off.
front. We were raised very much in the gender binary, but for the most part, she was pretty spot on.
Right.
She was 5, just at the
think
grocery
for a-
store.
I think for a 5-year-old, it's okay to teach gender in the binary.
Well, I mean,
For a 5-year-old.
you can teach gender
Until
on the
you get
spectrum.
it- I, mean,
I
as far
personally
as
think no
penises
child.
go.
I think no child is too young to understand those concepts, as long as we're willing to talk openly about them from
Right.
the beginning.
You can
Yeah.
talk
That's how
about
I feel
penises and
about it.
vaginas, basically, and you
Yeah.
should.
Yes.
Like my aunt, when she was little, she in kindergarten, I think, like 5, they're like putting it all together, right?
Mm-hmm.
She had to like draw some artwork. It was like something about yourself and your family or whatever. And famously, it was like she drew the family and she drew penises on my grandpa and her brother.
Yeah.
Because she was like designating, right?
Mhm.
And then it was like, what's your favorite word? And hers was leather. And she
Great.
drew a belt
Yep.
to demonstrate leather.
So any of this in the hands of these social workers
Yeah.
from your case would
Yeah.
be an arrestable and
But
child
how
removal
did
offense.
she feel about turtles?
Right.
And then they asked, it was like all in one thing. And my grandma was like so fucking mortified. Then it was like, what's your dream job? And it was Dairy Queen lady. And then it was,
Bless
what did
it.
you have for dinner last night? And my grandma she was a stay-at-home mom. She had 4 kids. She
Mm-hmm.
cooked a healthy meal of like a meat, a starch, and a vegetable every goddamn night
Mhm.
for all those years raising all those kids. But that one night, like, their like oven had gone out or something, and they had to like, it was like some like random like emergency.
Mhm.
Some smoke alarm is beeping
Yeah.
because it's low on batteries.
Right. She's got like an infant. Yeah, it's like something is going on. And so my aunt was like, donuts. We had
Oh.
donuts for dinner.
Good for them. Enjoy
Oh.
your donuts.
all in one
no.
Penises, leather, belts,
Donuts.
Dairy
Belt.
Queen, donuts for dinner.
I love it.
And we sleep in the basement.
Yeah, exactly.
Your grandma's
And my
like,
grandma
they
was just
don't
like,
sleep in the basement.
my poor grandmother was like the best human.
yeah.
Anyway, so kids will say the darndest things. Anyway,
Mhm. Long story short.
turtles. What's the significance of turtles?
Mm-hmm.
So the police officer wrote of this interview, M arrived wearing a turtle sweatshirt.
Oh no.
Like a turtleneck?
No, like a sweatshirt with a turtle on it.
Lucky. I want that.
Because I don't know, stay with me here,
Luck.
but maybe this kid was into turtles.
Yeah. Kids develop a thing that
Big
they
leap.
like.
Big leap that an
Right.
8-year-old might really like turtles.
Also, what? Mid-90s?
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It's
Wasn't
really
Morris
sus.
a character on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
I have no idea. I don't recall this, but
I think Dave Morris wrote a book about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Who knows? Maybe they just saw the name Morris. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. So
sweatshirt with a turtle on it.
Child arrives with a sweatshirt with a turtle on it. We asked her if her brothers and sisters had turtle outfits. She said, "Who told you?" We replied that one of her sisters had told us, and we asked her if she could tell us about this. She said she didn't want to talk, but she would draw it. Probably doesn't want to talk to you because you're being fucking weird.
Yeah, and because she's a kid. She doesn't fucking feel like talking to you.
Yeah. She
About turtles.
About anything.
Yeah. I also would be like, I don't have anything to say to you. She began to draw while we sat silently.
Oh,
She drew
God.
a misshaped circle with a human figure wearing what she said was a turtle outfit. The figure, she told us, was Morris.
What
I just...
do they think they're hitting on?
Over the next couple days, several of the other W children had made comments that seemed to echo M's description of a figure in a turtle suit hooking people and having penetrative sex with them while others danced around in a circle. But again, we don't know what questions were being asked in the interviews
'cause
to
nothing was
elicit these
recorded.
responses.
and no
Weren't-
notes were taken.
Wasn't there a group of people dancing in a circle?
Yeah. And what did Morris do with his hook while you were dancing?
Right.
Yeah. That's fucked.
And was Goody Proctor with the devil? So when one of the W children was asked where these events occurred, he responded, quote, "A hole in the ground," which was interpreted as a reference to a local quarry.
And also every turtle's home ever. My God.
And when the children were asked to list who else had been present at these events, their lists included members of the T, M, H, and B families,
The
i.e.
only
their
people
mother's
they
friends.
know. Weird.
The TMNT families.
TGIF families.
I just...
Horrified by what they had learned, Liz McLean and the police officer, once back on the island, assembled a team of police officers and social workers to discuss what they should do.
Oh, good.
Based on the children's testimonies, they believed that there was no doubt that these incomer families, led by the local minister, were practicing satanic rituals
Oh,
that
because we got
included
satanic panic, too. It's the early 90s. Of
that
course.
included the sexual abuse of children.
Great. Cool.
Where are all these Satanists, honestly?
Minding their own fucking business.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
they don't do this shit.
Yeah.
They sound kind of fun.
Right?
Yeah. They're way better than fucking crazy ass wacko. I'm not going to say it, but you all know what I'm saying.
Yeah, we get
Yes.
it.
Okay. So, the decision was made that they would not interview any of the family friends about the allegations.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not
Great.
going to ask any of the adults about the allegations.
No. Why would we investigate this?
Mhm. It was clear from how they had aligned themselves with the W family in the past by being friends with them,
Mm-hmm.
that they viewed the social work department as the enemy and would have already warned their children against speaking to them. But they decided a plan needed to be formulated to get the children out of these homes as well. So they needed to remove the children from the T, M, B, and H families.
So they're just taking all the kids off the island, basically.
All the incomer kids.
Right.
Because of a satanic turtle
Theory.
fucking
With no
theory.
actual, with no follow-up investigation, which this also does such a disservice to these children on a million levels, because if these children are trying to process and express trauma or abuse that they're currently experiencing, or trauma or abuse that they previously experienced, potentially at the hands of their father, this is not an effective means to
No.
figure out what's going on and therefore offer the proper treatment and resources to these kids in order for them to recover.
Right.
So they're just
And also,
doing,
there is a trauma there's a trauma associated with having a sibling
yes,
who has been abused and a
Yes.
father who was abusive and is
Yes.
now not in the home.
Mhm.
There is a legitimate trauma to that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Even if
scattering
you
them
personally weren't abused.
Right.
scattering them to different homes just in the name of keeping them safe is not
Mhm.
it's
Ugh.
not effective in this in this scenario?
So
Hard
now
no.
they have not spoken to any of the TMB or H families or the minister, but they decide they need to remove their children.
Yeah, because they have no doubt. So what other evidence do they need?
Turtle sex cults. I mean,
Good God.
Obviously.
what
And
leap
so-
needs to be made?
And so they plotted a coordinated early morning raid on
Stop.
the 4 houses. They would arrive before the children had woken up for school while they're sleeping in their fucking beds in their jammies and transport them from their homes to a chartered plane that would be waiting to take them to a safe house on the mainland, after which they would be transferred into foster homes.
This is really fucked up.
This is very bad.
And so on the morning of February 27th, 1991, police burst into these 4 homes accompanied by social workers and pulled the startled children from their beds as their parents cried and screamed,
Yep.
demanding to know what was going on because they'd had
No interaction, no
warning.
interview, no, holy shit. Like, this is so fucked up. I know this is happening in Scotland, but like, how the state is able to conspire against you and create their own theories and then just execute these types of actions.
raids.
This is happening at the southern border of the U.S.
It happens,
today.
yeah, it happens all over the fucking country.
It's not just Scotland in the 90s.
That's exactly what I'm
It
saying.
happened
I'm
to
s-
indigenous children for
Yes.
generations.
This
yeah.
is
Yes.
this is a repetitive action that continues to happen to marginalized individuals now, today, in 2021 in the United States. Which isn't shocking. It's just like, I feel like people really forget, like they create a distance, and there's a lot of ways that we can distance this case. It's from the 90s, it's not from this country, but it's like exactly what is happening to this family in this case could happen right here, right now.
It happened to tens of thousands of families of indigenous American Native people with boarding schools
Yeah.
up until like
The 50s.
the 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
our
It was a
very recent history.
cultural genocide.
Our
I mean, like,
parents' generation.
Yep.
yuck.
So,
All right, we're fine.
okay, sorry guys. For our video viewers, you'll notice that I refreshed my lipstick, and then it's because my
good.
camera died. Okay.
That's fine.
So, police also seized objects from the TMH and B homes that they deemed to be relevant
Yeah,
to
the stuffed animal turtles.
Yes.
Get the turtles!
Precisely.
Tag and bag the turtles.
Funny.
Tag and bag. All the Teenage Mutant Ninja
I
Turtles.
need all the turtles. You forgot Donatello!
Everybody does.
Poor Donatello.
I know.
Nice try, Donatello.
So, some of these objects included a videotape of the TV show Black Adder, a
I don't know.
detective
Well, I'm like, I don't
novel.
know what that is because I don't live in Scotland.
It's a fucking videotape of a TV show,
Okay.
of a network TV show
That anyone,
in
anywhere could have
the
watched.
90s.
Got it.
I had a lot of those myself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A detective novel, a model airplane made from 2 pieces of wood, which was identified by social workers as, quote, a wooden cross.
Oh, you gotta be fucking
Honey,
kidding me.
no.
Sir.
My God.
The minister's home was also raided, and they seized, quote, 3 masks, 2 hoods, and 1 black cloak.
Well,
They
he's a
probably would have
minister.
found a wooden cross in his house, too.
So he probably has all kinds of like various garb for various
Oh,
ceremonial uses.
next sentence. He would later refuse to sign for the return of these objects until the inventory was changed to, quote, 3 nativity masks,
Oh, for God's sake.
2 academic hoods, and 1 priest's robe.
Calm the fuck on.
I, too, have an academic robe, academic hoods. I have a cane. I have multiple wigs.
I wonder what they would think
eye
of my
masks,
cone head.
Korean sheet masks.
Yeah.
How would they describe this?
Oh no, yeah, Amanda
Oh,
just donned her
my
her
God.
silicone cone head. Yeah,
Satanist.
Satanist right there.
I have so much paraphernalia in
Oh,
my
me
home.
too. My grandmother's crucifix of a bleeding Jesus.
Yeah. Also, it's
I have
Scotland.
human arms.
There are tons of fucking Catholics and
Mhm.
religious Presbyterians about. You can have
Goat
a cross if you want a
bones.
cross. Yeah,
Yes.
goat bones. Exactly.
I got a lot of creepy shit in my house.
Mm-hmm.
So after a brief stay all together in a safe house that had been prepared for them, all 9 children taken from the alphabet soup families,
Mm-hmm.
who were aged between 8 and 15, were placed in separate foster homes on the mainland.
Oh, good.
Social workers in the South Reynolds Island refused to disclose the location of the children to their parents and would not even tell them whether the siblings were together or had been separated. So they didn't tell the parents anything. So the parents are just fucking freaked the fuck out, terrified. Over the next several weeks, the children were subjected to repeated interviews about the W children's allegations.
Well, and now all these kids want is to get back to their
Get home.
families. So they're probably going to say anything. Like you mentioned earlier, it's like they'd keep them in these rooms.
I want to go home.
Until you told them what they
Yeah.
want to hear, and then they'd let you go.
Yeah.
So
What
do I
they're
have
probably
to
doing
say?
the same shit.
Adults break down and do that, and they know what's happening to them,
Yeah.
and they still
That's-
break down, let alone children.
Yeah.
So all of them still denied that they had ever attended a ritual in the quarry or been sexually abused by either the minister or their parents. So all of them were like, no.
No.
In April of 1991, the case was scheduled, so February to April.
Oh, that's a really long time.
Uh-huh.
The case was scheduled to be heard in the Orkney Islands Children's Court. But during an initial hearing to establish the grounds of the case, the presiding judge finally dismissed the entire thing, declaring, quote, "These proceedings are so fatally flawed as to be incompetent,"
Thank you. God, I can't believe it took this long.
and ordered the children to be returned to their homes that day.
Good.
And so nearly 2 months after they had been taken, the 9 children were collected from their respective foster homes and placed on a chartered plane back to the island. Now, this is only the non-W children.
Right.
Where are the W children?
The case and the huge amount of publicity it attracted caused an uproar on the island and led to a massive inquiry into the social work and police departments, resulting in a nearly 400-page report detailing what had gone wrong and providing recommendations on how to overhaul the way these departments operated. And while the 9 children who had been taken in the dawn raids were returned immediately upon the judge dismissing the social worker's case, it would be another 6 years
What?
before the last of the W children was returned home.
So I imagine some of the older children that were taken out of the home probably
Are
aged out
adults.
of that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, I mean, I
Like
think
it's within
safe to
reason that they
assume
could have with
It's
the
possible.
I don't know
Fuck.
what their ages all were, but my
6
God.
years? Why?
In 2006, one of these children, identifying herself publicly for the first time as May, I'm just going to say W,
Mm-hmm.
sued the Orkney Islands Social Work Department for £100,000, claiming her childhood was destroyed when she was taken from her mother and placed in foster care.
Yeah.
She stated in an interview that she was, quote, "the victim of a witch hunt by overzealous social workers who were determined to break up her family."
Ugh.
The official inquiry into the social worker's handling of the case was slightly less harsh in its language, but it concluded that, quote, "no steps were taken to resolve the growing antagonism between the department and the friends of Mrs. W, and the department interpreted the sympathy of Mrs. W's neighbors wholly as hostility to themselves," which we've talked about. And, quote, "the department failed to keep a wholly open mind regarding the allegations of the W children." They weren't even allegations.
Yeah. Wild theories.
Right? I mean, yes, of
It
course
was
you should believe children, but you
speculating
have to
have a foot in reality.
yeah.
They could have believed what the children were saying, though, without taking it to the extremes to which they took it.
Right.
Without, like, believing children also means, okay, I'm going to believe what you're saying here and get to the bottom of this. I'm going to further investigate this so that I'm doing right by you, the child who is potentially, who is certainly experiencing harm in some way.
But also
whether
understanding like the psychology of an
residual
8-year-old.
trauma. Right. Ugh.
It's not like it
How
was.
much children like turtles.
It's not. Children fucking love turtles.
Children love turtles like across the board. You can't ignore that.
Kenyon really hit the nail on the head earlier talking about like the collective trauma of the family and not just those who were individual victims of direct abuse. And so stuff is gonna like carry over and bleed out into the other children.
Right.
And that
Why
needs
is daddy gone? Okay, something about, I know it's something about bodies. Okay, it's something about a penis. Okay.
Oh, and then to think, it's something that I said.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that has nothing to do with the father being gone because, I mean,
I know,
by
I'm just
all
speculating.
accounts.
These are just
that
examples.
Yes.
And then
But,
they
like,
just take this train and fucking run it off the rails.
They took my brothers and my sisters and myself away from my mom because of something that I said. As a young child, are you fucking
8-year-old.
kidding me?
Well, actually, I didn't have time to cover all of this, but there was an interview from one of the children as an adult who said, like, I was abused by my dad when I was younger, but then this social work thing just completely was made up and came out of fucking nowhere. And she was like, as a victim of past abuse, I carried that shame, quote unquote.
Yep.
It felt like shame to her.
Yeah, both can be true.
And she was like, and then I took it all upon myself because I don't know what they fucking said to me in these interviews, but then I said whatever I said as a child. And then I was, again, quote, in her mind, responsible for the breakup of my family.
That compounding trauma, that compounding guilt and shame.
Yeah.
I can't.
So the report concluded with recommendations that the social work department should, in the future, make sure they were not confusing taking a child seriously with believing everything a child says.
Exactly.
And that they should take active steps towards regaining the trust of their community and, quote, should not be seen as spies or detectives, but should be recognized as agents for the provision of advice, guidance, and assistance.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
However, when a woman named Jeanette Chisholm, I don't know how to say that, one of the original social workers on the case was interviewed 15 years later, she refused to admit any mistakes.
Of course.
Stating
There's
that,
not going to be
quote,
any accountability.
I can't decide things happened or didn't happen, but people saying things didn't happen doesn't affect me in the slightest because that's my experience of what people always say. I'd be very surprised.
This is my truth. I'm living my truth.
I'd be very surprised if they said it did. And that is my case.
Well, I don't like that bitch. And that's what I have to say
Well,
about
fuck
that.
Jeanette
Yeah.
and the fucking turtle she wrote in on.
Yeah, exactly. Holy shit.
I mean-
God. And that settlement is so meager. If she even got all of that money.
I don't know. There's so much more to this case that we just don't have time to cover.
It's too big. That family
so
deserves
sweeping.
a lifetime of reparations and fucking free therapy.
There's also there's so much classism, like we talked about at the top, with like judgment of a family having 15 kids, which I admit that I did judge a little. I did.
Mm-hmm.
And that is classism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that is. So it's.
I just feel pain in my downstairs when anyone says 15 kids.
Oh, yeah. My only judgment is on my own pain threshold. That uterus. That's what I'm
poor
saying.
uterus.
That
Well-
poor she deserves an edible arrangement.
My God, what a absolutely bonkers situation.
That was a good case, actually. I
Wow.
really liked that. The turtles.
Turtles.
The turtles.
Turtles
I like
all
turtles.
the way down.
Fucking
I
turtles
will-
from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Well,
Snout to tail turtles.
snout to tail, snap to tip.
That's actually a tortoise. And the
Okay.
difference is
And
Turtles
the
have
difference will be
tails.
revealed during this word from our sponsors.
Did you know that turtle shells have like nerve endings?
Frogbogs.com is now adding turtles.
Anyway, turtles can feel when you touch their shells. That's all I have to say. Now, a word from our sponsors. Because a lot of like turtle rescues have like brushes set up so they can like rub their own shells.
keep it. Don't break for sponsors until she's done.
This is like how the third Lord of the Rings has 4 endings and you keep thinking it's over and then it's like, and another thing about turtles.
Lucy, what is the significance of the
No.
turtles? And have you ever been to a quarry?
Please
No,
read
I'm not.
into all of
I'm
this.
pleading the fifth so you don't take me away from my parents.
From your
Aw.
cats.
Yes.
From my
All right.
cats.
Are we ready for my case?
Probably not.
It's not nearly that bad.
Okay.
This is a fucking this is more of the stage magic and sleight of hand side of the social work field.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but nobody has died in any of these cases so far. So
That's
we're gonna
true.
keep that. We're gonna keep that train.
Okay.
going.
Sometimes death is a mercy.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
how dark this is remains to be seen.
Like for you sitting here recording this, is that what you're alluding
spring
to?
merch. Sometimes death
Death
is a mercy.
I'm just saying.
I'm writing it down.
Holy shit!
My parents put down a cat today, so yes, sometimes death is a mercy.
If you
Okay,
want
well, then I'll
sometimes death
keep
is a
this
mercy merch,
short.
get at us.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Rockford.
Poor
Death
Rockford.
death is frequently a mercy.
Okay, well then I will try not to take up any more of your torturous time, so that I can free you from this pain you're in. So I literally started and abandoned 3 cases before
Amanda
landing
went
on this
through
one.
it today.
I had a hard time.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm really glad you are
Yeah.
not covering.
No, we're not even going to go there. But
Yeah.
long story short, the cases that I kept finding were so sad, and my fucking mental health just couldn't deal with it. So
Well, child abuse, like prolonged child,
It's
any
too much.
child abuse. There's nothing funny. It's just no.
no,
we're not going there.
that's very hard to talk about. So I thought I'm not going to. So I don't want to
Good.
do that wrong.
I'm glad you pivoted.
But recently, like many of us listening, I watched the movie I Care a Lot, starring Rosamund Pike.
So good.
It's so good.
It's pretty entertaining. For those of you who don't know, without any spoilers, she stars as a very shady, like, elder caregiver who basically swoops in and assumes legal emergency control over a client's assets and like gets rich doing this. So that's
like
the long
at
and
the
short.
end of their lives.
Yeah,
in
well,
order
not
to-
even that close to the end. Like,
Well, the end goal is to outlive them so
Well,
that
right.
she can take their money.
they're all old enough that this is a viable that they can she can deem them in court no longer capable of managing their own finances.
But when they get like a terminal case, she's like, yes.
Yeah. But this movie, it's bonkers. Many parts of it are over the top and far-fetched and very entertaining.
Yeah.
But financial elder abuse is a serious problem in the elder care industry. Sometimes the perps of these types of crimes can be, you guessed it, social workers.
Oh.
So that is where we're going today. So credit.com actually gives a pretty scary rundown of just how bad elder financial abuse is in the United States. So this is from a recent article that states, quote, back in 2010, MetLife released a report estimating that $2.9 billion is lost by America's elderly each year, based on published accounts of fraud. But most observers believed that figure was low. A new survey released last week, and this article came out in 2019, so now a week and 2 years ago. It might be closer to the mark. TrueLink Financial, which helps the elderly manage their money, estimates that seniors lose collectively $36 billion every year, and roughly 1 in 3 older Americans have been scammed in the past 5 years.
So losing by virtue of being scammed. Like, oh, if you want to invest your money.
Not
and
just
blah,
that
blah, blah.
way. Not just that way.
Also by
From
caregivers.
family members,
Yeah.
predatory family members, predatory, in like the story we're going to get to, a predatory social worker. Like there's a lot of ways to scam money from your elders that are not just like a phishing scheme in your email.
It's not just like online poker.
Exactly. Exactly. This goes on to say, quote, those of us working in the field have long known that the United States is in the throes of an elder financial abuse epidemic. And this is from Shauna Reeves, who's the director of elder abuse prevention at the Institute on Aging. Unfortunately, she says, we've lacked well-designed studies capturing the true nature and scope of the problem. This study is a game changer. Not only does it challenge the previous studies, but it serves as a clarion call for further research and action. So long story short, check on grandma. So the story I'm covering today is of 28-year-old Olivia Gordon of Long Island, New York.
Olive Garden.
Of Olive Garden, New York.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough name if you
Olivia
live on
Gordon.
When you're here, your family.
If your family, you're scammed.
Yeah.
Olivia Bottomless Breadsticks Gordon.
Well, she really wanted her bottomless breadsticks.
Oh, no.
She is a young social worker who took a position. She's 28 years old when she takes a position in March of 2019. So this is a recent case. As the director of social work at an elder care and rehabilitation center in Far Rockaway, which is an area of Queens, New York.
I'm surprised she
That's where
didn't
we
try
had
to
lunch.
pass the salad bar.
Seriously.
That's where we had lunch that one day. Didn't we have a layover?
Yeah, that little bit, Rockaway Beach. So I wasn't sure what all of the responsibilities were in this position. So I literally Googled, what does director of social work at an elder care facility do? And this is kind of what I came up with.
And you'll
This
have
is me
targeted
typing.
ads for the rest of time.
Seriously. Change your career. Nope.
In Scotland.
Oh, there we go. This position comes with a lot of responsibility because the social services director is responsible for ensuring that the social, psychological, and physical needs of all residents in the senior living community are being met. So they provide and guide patients and their families to resources for whatever they need. They manage the trajectory of their care. They help with next steps in their care. Sometimes these care needs will be financial. So in the event that a patient doesn't have a trusted family member to manage their finances, in the event they can't continue to pay for their care, or any other number of financial issues that can pop up, this individual in this position should provide resources to assist the clients that are in their care.
Okay.
Now, this doesn't mean that the social worker just takes over their entire financial situation.
Yeah, they
It might mean they're
identify someone that can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It might mean they're setting up power of attorney through an institution that can properly manage their finances, like helping them with their social security, like filling out documents for the government, things like that. They're not necessarily taking their assets. So social workers that can and should in these positions help clients create budgets, help them manage their benefits if they receive benefits from different government institutions or their previous employer, survivors' benefits from a deceased loved one, etc. They can coordinate financial management services, but this is not the same as just having direct access to a client's banking information.
Right. They have knowledge of overarching systems, and then they find people to handle the nitty-gritty.
Correct. However,
They're a facilitator. They're not a gatekeeper.
they're supposed to be. However, in this position, Miss Gordon, Miss Olive Garden, did have access as a higher level employee to sensitive financial information because you still need to provide that as a resident of these care facilities. So it's on file. It's
Right.
all there.
Right.
So when Miss Gordon had a new client in her care who had recently become a patient of this facility after sustaining a fall in her Brooklyn home, this woman's 90 years old, she saw an opportunity. So though very, very few details about the victim in this case are available, it appears that this is a woman, 90 years old, didn't have much in the way of immediate family to advocate on her behalf and keep an eye on her finances. So pretty soon after she was admitted to the care center, Gordon just dove on in. She gained access to all of the patient's banking information, including all of her account numbers, like direct, like account checking, like freaking routing number, not just like credit card that can easily be canceled. And over the course of 4 months, she transferred funds directly from the victim's account beginning in May of 2019. She first withdrew $12,996 from the victim's account, which was deposited directly into her own Bank of America account. The next withdrawal that she pulled, right? Well, it gets bolder. The next account was small, but compared to what she has already pulled, this was $2,748 that she pulled to go directly to her Capital One Visa card that needed to be paid down. $21,171 to pay down her Discover card account.
Oh my God, this
Paying
bitch
off
still
her
uses
fucking
Discover.
credit card debt.
Yep.
I'm kidding. I have a Discover.
I can't even get a Discover card, and I'm paying it myself. And the largest one-time withdrawal of $106,000, $106,148 to pay off a federal student loan. Which, relatable.
That's a lot of student loan
Just
debt.
gave
No
it all.
judgment. No judgment.
That's actually not. I mean, if you think about it, she's a 28-year-old social worker who probably got, like, her master's and shit. That's not that much student debt. Pretty soon out of college, she probably hasn't paid down, like, any of it.
Let's not excuse the fact that she stole that
I'm
shit
not
from an old
excusing
lady.
it.
Of course
I never
not.
said
We're
that.
joking.
I'm just saying $100,000 of student loan debt is not that much debt. Is all I'm saying.
It's
Like
far
half
above
of
the
mine.
average, is what I'm saying.
In the grand scheme of debt, it's an insane amount of debt. It should be criminal to have that much student loan debt. Thank you, government.
Yeah.
But that number associated with federal student loan debt is not like clenching my butthole. Like, of course, it's all a racket. You're trying to rob us all blind.
Yeah, it fucking sucks. And if
It's
you have
the
a
worst.
master's degree, if you have a master's degree, then that
It
is.
pays for you to live for fucking the 4 years it takes you to finish that. It just sucks. So these massive withdrawals were not enough to raise red flags because nobody is like
monitoring it.
nobody's monitoring
So
this.
the bank is just like, okay, you have all the right info, fine.
Yep.
I had fucking somebody try to hack my shit and they attempted to withdraw and like it was pending. It wasn't flagged as fraud. I noticed it.
Mm-hmm.
All of my money, like a
That's
shit
an
ton of
absurd
money.
amount of money.
Yeah.
It happens. Meanwhile, if I buy like too many pairs of Tivas.
Yeah, if you buy
My
M&Ms
bank
at
is
like the
texting me.
Chicago airport,
Yeah.
your bank is like denied.
The amount of times my bank while we've been on tour has just been like, JK, we're turning off your card. And I've been like,
$500
it's
at
me.
the Stetson hat
They
store.
didn't turn my card off for that, but they like did do it at the airport. They should have. I was
I
saving
make
money.
a lot of like purchases that absolutely should be.
My bank has like
Comfort
no.
shopping on tour.
Yeah, we do. My bank has no like method. It's like I never know what's gonna flag it. And so I just got into the habit of calling my bank and being like, here are all of the states I'm going to. Please don't turn my card off.
Try
And
living
they've gotten
abroad.
better about it. Oh, yeah. It's not great.
I never
So
knew if
anyway.
my card was gonna work.
Right. So it's not like inconceivable with no one monitoring these accounts that this is going to continue. And again, it's direct from the account. It's not through a debit card.
Right.
So which makes it that tends to
Oh,
legitimize these kinds of purchases.
Well, you'd have
because
to
you
know
need,
like the routing and the account number and blah,
you
blah,
need
blah.
so much sensitive information so that it's a little bit more legitimized. So if Miss Gordon hadn't gotten super greedy, she honestly Garden might have gotten away with this. But she saw a window of opportunity and went for it.
Wigs
so
off.
this wigs off, top of the wig to you. Miss Garden. So this client had an annuity, and I'm about to take it to a boring place for just a second here because I did not know what an annuity was.
Yeah, what is an annuity?
I'm about to answer this.
An annuity.
An annuity. According to Investopedia.com, an annuity is a contract between you and an insurance company in which you make a lump sum payment or series of payments and in return receive regular disbursements beginning either immediately or at some point in the future. So it's mostly used as like a retirement account. And there are like investment opportunities within these
And
accounts.
the insurance company is betting on you dying before you withdraw.
Pretty much.
Or just like
you put
investing it so they make money while they're holding onto the money.
Before you ask your question, Lucy, I'm not done. So let me see if this answers it.
I already don't get it. So.
Exactly. The goal of an annuity is to provide a steady stream of income, typically during retirement. Funds accrue on a tax-deferred basis like 401k contributions and can only be drawn without a penalty after the age of 59 and a half.
Okay.
So the
I wonder
annuity...
who fought for that half.
I know, right? And then there are different levels of annuities. So it sounds like the one in question here was likely a variable annuity, which is a higher risk investment account option that has like high reward potential. So, quote, variable annuities provide an opportunity for a potentially higher return, accompanied by some greater risk. In this case, you pick from a menu of mutual funds that go into your personal sub-account. And here your payments in retirement are based on the performance of investments in your sub-account. So it's it's a lot like a 401k or a Roth IRA, things like that. It's
so
just
there's not
an
a lot.
investment account.
Follow us for our finances podcast.
And recipes.
As far as I know, there's no risk in a Roth IRA though. So this talk of risk in an annuity
no,
account
it's an investment.
is like
So it's the market. It's like
Right.
what
The
any
risk is
kind
the
of
market.
investment risk
so it's
is.
not like stock.
It is stocks.
It's literally stock.
It's literally
A Roth
stocks.
IRA is
You're
a
giving
long-term
money. You're giving a
investment
chunk
stock
of money
account.
when you're young to an insurance company. They are investing that money on your behalf
Correct.
into funds of stocks, groupings
I don't
of
trust
stocks.
this. I trust none of this. I hate it all.
And then,
How
I
long
have
have you
a
had
Roth
your Roth
IRA,
IRA?
and
thinking
then when
that it
you're old,
wasn't
they
the
give
same?
9
you-
years.
when
I
you're
thought it
old.
was just money. I thought it was just money. It's not like risk.
That's a savings account.
Yeah, no, you
Roth
are.
IRA
You're
is a
invested in the
stock-
stock market, girlfriend.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm pulling out.
I don't know if you can without a bunch of penalties, so maybe
Let's
don't.
all pull out at once.
Okay, I need
See
to
what
wrap
happens.
this up. So,
Invest in frogbugs.com.
oh Jesus Christ, that has not been open to the market yet, so you can't. So, Olive Garden
We're
discovered
not
this.
publicly traded yet.
Correct. Olive Garden discovered this annuity account and that it was valued at nearly $1 million. So it's doing well. Granted,
Frogbox is at $1 million already?
yes. So granted, $1 million in 2019
Whoa.
is not, it's not an infinite amount of money, but that's
Great
a lot
when
of
you're
fucking
already
money.
90 with
Right.
no children.
Well,
$1
and it's
million.
great for-
What the fuck is she gonna? That's great.
And it's great for Olive Garden, who just paid off all of her student
Yeah.
debt and has no
Olive
debts
her-
now.
Olive Garden is
her
gonna put in a
breadsticks.
pool.
All of it. Yeah, exactly. So she's like, this is going to be perfect. So on May 7th, 2019, Gordon faxed a beneficiary form to the company holding the victim's annuity. On the form, she claimed to be the, quote, caretaker / pseudo-grandchild. On the form, she wrote pseudo-grandchild.
Not
Okay.
a legal term.
Doesn't count,
No.
bitch.
I'm not a lawyer, but that's not a legal term.
Don't have to be a lawyer to know that that's not a legal term. So she says this on the form, but did not get a response from the company. So several days, I wonder why.
They
So
tear
several
it to
days
the
later-
fuck out of that shit.
She sends a second fax requesting that the company just send her cash. She wants to make a withdrawal from this
Sure.
annuity.
I'm sorry, it's 2019. Why the fuck are you faxing?
I mean, some places still fucking make you fax. And
Well,
she works
that's
at an
true.
elder care facility. They have a fax machine.
That's true. But also,
So-
like, who even knows how to fax is my main question.
I mean, I do, but I worked at an office for a
I
hot minute. But anyway, thank you for these very helpful questions. Obviously, the
What's
company
an annuity?
had questions about the legitimacy of these forms.
What's a stock?
and needed to confirm any changes or withdrawals with the owner of the account.
Circling back to the turtles.
Yes.
They have nerve endings in their shells.
However, when they attempted to reach the victim by phone, they were unsuccessful. They couldn't connect with this 90-year-old woman. Probably because whatever phone number was, well, no, they already had her account in question. But I don't know. Maybe they didn't have
90.
updated information. A, she's 90.
She didn't hear the phone ringing.
A, she's
My
90.
grandfather, who recently passed away, and I love him so much. And
Poppy.
rip Poppy. But
God bless
towards
Poppy.
he was 91, and towards the end, he was answering the television remote
Yeah.
when the phone rang.
Oh, honey,
and she had
Poppy.
just recently been moved into this facility. So by the time that this is happening, she's only been there for 4 months. After experiencing a fall, it's possible she hadn't updated her new contact
Phone number.
information.
Yeah.
So they might have been trying to call
Yeah.
her in the fucking Bronx and didn't know she was there.
I mean,
There's lots of
honestly,
reasons.
moving is enough for
Oh, it's a
any
nightmare.
30-year-old.
And I don't think this woman had a cell phone.
yeah.
No.
Who knows? Anyway, either way, they couldn't get in contact with her. So that being said, they couldn't get any of this information confirmed. So they were like, we're denying these claims. We're not distributing any funds. And hi, elder fraud unit. This seems really weird.
Pseudo grandchild.
Pseudo grandchild / caretaker.
Pseudo sketch.
Yeah, so red flags going up everywhere, and it gets the attention of the elder fraud unit of the frauds bureau. Frogbogsbureau.com.
Frauds.
There is a bureau.
Frog bug
There's a federal bureau just for fraud, and this is an elder fraud unit of frogbogs.com.
Okay, can I interrupt for a second?
Of course.
There is you know how I love my insurance commercials, like
I
the
know.
clogging and the
Clog
onks
bugs.
and all that.
Of course.
There's another one that was like looking on the bright side, and he picks up a turtle and he's like, oh, it's fraud protection. I'm like, how did you miss the low-hanging fruit of picking up a turtle and saying it's frog protection?
Because turtles are not frogs.
I know, but they're both reptiles. And every time they say fraud protection, I hear
Are frogs
frog
reptiles?
Okay, amphibians. Next.
Aren't they? Oh, I meant amphibians.
Yeah, I do not think anything
Whatever.
you're saying tracks or makes any sense.
They
So,
missed an opportunity is all I'm going to say.
did
Frog
they miss an
protection.
opportunity if they picked up a turtle and didn't say frog? Like, how is that a missed opportunity?
It's
a turtle.
a missed opportunity. They have nerve endings in their shells.
How
Jesus
are turtles
fucking Christ.
so integral to this episode?
I don't know.
So frogs are amphibians. Are turtles reptiles or amphibians?
If I answer this, can we drop it?
I'm gonna
Please,
Google
God.
it. Don't worry.
Okay, I'm going to move on.
Turtle.
Olive Garden
Reptiles.
was arrested.
Turtles are reptiles. Frogs are amphibians.
That's what I thought.
Together they are
Turtle-
herpetofauna.
Some turtles are amphibious.
Together they are herpetofauna. Next.
Next.
Wasn't a missed opportunity. They picked up a turtle.
Salamanders.
Gordon was arrested in March of 2021 and charged with attempted grand larceny in the first degree, grand larceny in the second degree, criminal possession of stolen property in the second degree, identity theft in the first degree, and unlawful possession of personal identification information in the third degree.
Take that, Olive Garden.
Get it. So she was charged and she has gotten her first court date, but like the trial, none of those proceedings have begun. So she returns to court in May of this year and faces up to 15 years in prison. So the Queen's DA handling her case said in a statement, quote, instead of doing her job and looking out for this elderly woman's best interest, this social worker allegedly let greed guide her actions. Not only is this defendant accused of making huge cash withdrawals from the 90-year-old's bank account, she also set things in motion to take control of $1 million annuity. This kind of manipulation and deceit is not only immoral, but criminal, and the defendant now faces very serious charges.
And also she
Turtles
was
are
dumb
reptiles.
how she went about it.
Right,
It's a
so
direct
dumb.
line to herself.
Exactly, because she wanted to be the beneficiary, so she had to out herself to get to make that happen. It's like, here's your breadcrumbs for all your turtles to follow.
Your bottomless breadcrumbs.
Your bottomless breadsticks. So while being scammed out of money by the very professionals appointed to care for you is horrifying, it's not the most common. So I'm going to close out my case with some other scams to be mindful of, especially as our parents are aging.
Oh,
so
great.
everybody get your Momars on the phone.
Oh my God. I already told my mom that she can't have a home with a yard. I won't let her do yard work.
Ever answer an email.
That is not a scam. A yard is not a scam.
Talking about taking care of my mom.
Well, yeah, that's fine, but we're only talking about scams right now. So, sweepstakes scams. This is from the AARP. Quote, the initial contact in a sweepstakes scam is often a call, an email, a social media notification, or the most damning for an elder is a piece of direct mail.
Oh, yeah.
Offering congratulations for winning some big contest. But here's the catch. You'll be asked to pay a fee, taxes, or custom duties to claim your prize.
Yep.
The scammers may request bank account information, urge you to send money via a wire transfer, or suggest you purchase gift cards and give them the card numbers. Regardless of the method, once scammers ensnare someone, they will keep coming back, calling victims for months or even years, promising the big prize is only one payment away. And if you stop paying or cut off contact, they may threaten to harm you or a loved one or to report you to the authorities. All of this is bullshit. They can't do that.
I have a lot of like random voicemails from
Oh, me too.
from callers. It's like your social security number has been compromised.
Which
Yeah.
isn't a thing. It's been
Extended
hacked.
car warranty.
Yeah. No.
Oh, I got one once that was like, your social security number brought up like a fraud warrant for your arrest, and officers
Oh, yeah.
are coming to your place
That
of
was
business.
real.
And it's like,
Officers are on.
that
officers
was
are on
real.
on their way right now.
And the phone number spoofing technology they use is so wild. One of those scam calls I got was from 911, which 911 doesn't call you, but like
What?
it was wild. I ended up filing a report about it, but it's
Yeah.
like, if you get calls like that, report those numbers. There are places to do that online.
Yeah.
Also, the IRS will never call you. They'll never have a robocall.
yeah.
I also automatically reject any number that has an area code that is my own cell phone number. I have a
Yeah.
952 number. Any unidentified call from that area
used-
code
I
is
used-
probably spam.
I used to pick up, but then since moving back now to
Send
the
it all to
States,
voicemail.
there's no reason. No, there's no
And
reason.
then delete it
haven't
and
set
block
up
it.
my voicemail.
So another scam is Medicare scams.
What
This
the
is
fuck
from
is wrong with you?
I'm never
That's
gonna
fine.
listen to my voicemail. If it's an emergency, text me. I'm not gonna listen to it.
Set
I'm
up
not
your
doing
voicemail.
it. No.
She also doesn't. You don't need to. It'll just give you that pre-recorded whatever. And
You both blow my mind.
No, I don't want to
I
listen to
have
voicemails.
a voicemail.
My mom,
I don't know where I come into
my
this.
mom would leave a voicemail every time she called me and missed my call. And I
That's
didn't
fair.
pick up. I'm not gonna set up a
You don't have to
voicemail.
listen to it.
No.
The nice thing about voicemail on the iPhone is that it has a transcript, so I literally never have to listen
you
to
never have
voicemails.
to
I can
listen
read it
to
like a
it.
text and then decide to call back or delete it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty good feature.
Yeah.
So good to know.
Okay.
Now you're thinking maybe you'll set it up.
Set up your damn voicemail.
So I have two more fucking things and then we'll be done and I will eat. Medicare scams. This is from the National Council on Aging. Quote, every U.S. citizen or permanent resident over the age of 65 qualifies for Medicare. So there is rarely any need for a scam artist to research what private health insurance company older people have in order to scam them out of some money. In these types of scams, perpetrators may pose as a Medicare representative, get older people to give them their personal information, or they will provide bogus services for elderly people at makeshift mobile clinics, then bill Medicare and pocket the money. Medicare scams often follow the latest trends in medical research, such as genetic testing, fraud, and COVID-19 vaccines.
I didn't know about these mobile
no.
clinics. That's
Scam Goddess
horrible.
actually recently did a great episode on someone who set up sort of like a scam mobile vaccine clinic. And
That's so disgusting.
it is really disgusting, especially because this clinic claimed to be directly filling the need to serve communities of color.
Oh,
and then they were pocketing
God.
a lot of money and not actually distributing vaccines.
So they were just like, how can we harm people on all of the levels?
Yeah, exactly.
How can we scam them out of money, target people of color, target the elderly, and make them at higher risk of dying from a pandemic? And make people feel unsure about life-saving vaccines.
Yeah.
Boom,
Yes.
boom, 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 boom.
And also the fact that they actually do communicate with your insurance company. That's fun.
Yeah, in some of these scams, they do. So one more that I'm going to go over, because these are like the three that I feel like the elderly are the most susceptible to.
Yeah.
So this last one is computer and tech support scams, which I feel like would also maybe work on Kenyon.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I almost fell for the car warranty one when we first moved back because I didn't know. I had just gotten back. I hadn't gotten those types of calls before. I had just bought a car. I'd never bought like a relatively
That's when
new.
they call you.
I had never bought a relatively new car before that had I'd never had a car with a warranty before.
I didn't even know what a warranty was.
Yeah, so I was like, "Oh my god, shit! Did I do something wrong?"
Nope.
I didn't call back. Thank God.
That's good because you didn't have your voicemail, so you didn't know what they were doing. So, computer technical support scams prey on people's
But also
lack
set
of
up your
knowledge
voicemail.
about computers and cybersecurity. A pop-up message or blank screen usually appears on your computer or phone telling you that your device is compromised and needs fixing. I'll get these pop-ups on my phone when I click a shitty article or something. But then you know, most Apple operating systems will be like, you don't want to click this. And, you know, I know better, but I could see that a lot of folks wouldn't. When you call the support number for help, the scammer may either request remote access to your computer or that you pay a fee to have it repaired.
No.
Yeah. The Federal Trade Commission found that seniors who fell for this scam lost an average of $500 each to computer tech support scams in 2018. And that's like only if you paid a bogus fee to get your computer cleaned up. If these folks are actually more advanced in the tech scamming, there are key locks where they can figure out your passwords to get into all of your banking information, all of that stuff. Like if you give them remote access to your computer, that has most people's most sensitive information. We don't keep a file folder anymore of all of our like banking and sensitive info. That's all password protected in different websites and shit now. So like they can get access to all of that if they have slightly more advanced technology. So I know I've deviated now from social work, but I just wanted to reiterate how vulnerable populations vary in age, and elderly folks are susceptible to some serious financial fuckery if we're not careful. So again, check on your grandma, and that is my case.
Well done.
Nice.
Well,
Wild times.
wigs off to our fan picker Carmen.
Where in the world are you, Carmen?
Yeah, and to all
Probably
the
San
good
Diego.
social workers out there, you are doing an impossible job with
Keep being good and not ruining people's lives.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You're doing the Lord's work. God bless.
Uh,
We will see you next week.
Yes, we will. Bye-bye.